The Buffalo Sabres got active last night. They have officially traded forward J.J. Peterka to Utah for defenseman Michael Kesselring and forward Josh Doan. Kesselring, 25, played 82 games last year. He put up 29 points, while Doan, 23, played 51 games and put up 19 points. Paul Hamilton will have more on this as he joins the show at 3:30. Draft day is tomorrow for the NHL. Round 1 will get underway at 7 p.m. Our coverage is brought to you by Outlet Liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet? By Fiegel Car and Joyce, your border attorneys, and by Dash's Market, serving Western New York for over 100 years. Shop the family of finer foods. The NHL also had some reports today as the NHL and the NHL Players Association are negotiating a potential increase from 82 to 84 games in the regular season. That, among other topics, in the current CBA talks. The Bengals are staying in downtown Cincinnati at least until 2036, as the Bengals and Hamilton County have agreed on a new deal to modernize Paycor Stadium. And the Bisons, they will host the Iron Pigs tonight at 6:30. That game can be heard on our sister station, The Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
All right, what's the report from outside?
I was outside for maybe 3 minutes. I counted 8 Q-tips. It's got to be one person that just throws their Q-tips out the window when they're done using them in their cars.
It's Mike Schopp.
One person?
More than one person using Q-tips and throwing them outside?
I don't think I use 8 Q-tips in a year.
I think I've never used 8 Q-tips.
And the Bulldog.
What the hell is going on out there? I don't think I want to work in a place where people roll their windows down if they're using Q-tips for Lord knows what and just throw them on the ground.
Well, you do.
What, is it the 70s?
Oh, that's not very nice.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Driving on the highway 65 miles an hour. I get a little left in my soda from the fast food drive. Out the window.
Yeah.
That was the 70s. Who gives an F about anything?
Throw a burrito out the window.
Nothing matters. 2025, what are you doing?
On WGR.
Throwing Q-tips out of your car.
Sports Radio 550.
Hello from Harbor Center. Has the show, not my line, I'm stealing it, ever sounded colder? I almost wore shorts because that's what you do these days when you have a job you're lucky enough to have where you don't need to wear a tie. Oof. Ever think about that? Terrible.
All the time.
Yeah?
Yeah.
This is so great.
When I get, even if it's only for not just fleeting, the most fleeting of thoughts, as I'm getting dressed. Yeah.
Could be worse.
Yeah.
But, I'm in a
Yeah.
long sleeve shirt and jeans, and I'm cold.
I got this new station-issued quarter zip.
I have that in the car.
And
I might go get it.
I like it. I think it fits nicely. It looks good. We've been, how long have we been? 10,000 shows? It took a while to get some gear, but we got some gear that is functional and good looking, I think.
I know. I got mustard on mine.
Oh, jeez.
But it came out.
Okay.
I got it out. You ever go to Sheetz?
Yes, absolutely have stopped at Sheetz. Yes.
Anytime this was the Columbus trip, 2 weekends ago, so Sheetz is just we do it for laughs.
It's like
my son and I go to Sheetz for laughs.
Disneyland of gas stations.
I just love that you can actually type it all in. They maybe were ahead of their time when it came to that, but you can order on the screen. And I ordered Italian sausage with mustard. And, maybe in a good way, the mustard was on the bottom. When you prepare a hot dog or Italian sausage, the condiments are going to be on the top.
Right.
But this time, it was on the bottom, so I could taste it. I knew it was there. I was happy about it.
It was in an unfamiliar territory, and it squirted out.
It squirted out from the back to buy one of those.
To this day, every time I go to a ball game and get a hot dog or a sausage and put mustard on it, I am very careful about my posture while I'm eating because I think as an adult, a young adult, 20 to 30 maybe, 10 times in a row maybe going to a baseball game, I dripped mustard on myself.
Mustard, yeah.
So now I'm just I need a bib. I need a lobster. I'm going to the lobster.
I like that.
I need one of those. I need a bib.
Just go plain. Don't risk it.
Right.
Well, we are here at the 11-day power play. This is regular thing now for us, for Buffalo, but it's not a regular thing in terms of what it means to the community, to cancer research, and everybody coming together to play hockey for 11 days and raise this kind of money will never cease to amaze. They're over $1.5 million, headed for $1.7. The WGR team plays at 6 p.m. Eastern, so Owen, Bulldog's son, is on the team. He's not just somebody that knows Bulldog, knows somebody that works at the station, or is their son. He's actually works with us now.
He has played before, twice, for the WGR team before having an employment opportunity, which he is now enjoying at the station.
The last time you played,
right.
He played.
Right, and he played the time before that as well, I think, or maybe the time after, whatever. Either way, I know we sat here together. It was after I played with him, and he was playing, and I remember being really nervous. Not that I was worried he was not going to play well, but I was like, his career was sort of sparking at that time. Maybe this is summer of 18 or 19 maybe, and I was like, just don't turn an ankle. Just don't do anything that's going to hurt you. And so I remember being unsettled about that, kind of, a little ridiculous to look back on it now, but I remember being nervous about that.
There's a new shift starting now here just after 3. Is there going to be an anthem here? Do they play the anthem before every shift?
I don't remember if they do that.
Okay. The players are lined up at the blue lines.
Yeah.
We have Paul Hamilton, Greg Wyshynski, Joe Yerdon today. It's a hockey day. And the Sabres gave us something.
Yes.
They traded someone good.
Yes, they did. A player that I very much did not want to see them part with, but they did. And I think, the die was kind of cast here as much as they tried to prior to Tuesday. I think prior to Tuesday they had been pushing back on the narrative that J.J. Peterka was at the top of anybody's trade board heading into the summer months here. They were sort of all the big guys, Elliot Friedman, LeBrun would say, they're getting calls on him, but they don't want to do it. They don't want to do it. Tuesday, Adams sounded like, resigned to the notion that it's going to happen.
It was done.
Yeah, because he wouldn't tell you anything about his status, which to me usually means negative, i.e. they're moving him. So they did, and I don't like that they moved him and caved in to yet another, I don't like it here, I'm unhappy, get me out of here demand. But I think two things can be true. I like the players that they got. I think the players that they got can serve purposeful roles for this team. But that comes with caveats. Because they have to still find, they probably needed a top 6 forward even with Peterka on the team. Now they absolutely need a top 6 forward, if not another one, to supplement what they've got going on up there. And as long as they don't end up at, Jack Quinn can take Peterka's place. He's healthy now. And Zach Benson can take Quinn's place. Okay, that's it. We're good. Then I think this can be a helpful trade because it does change their mix. They've needed a partner for Power since Power got to the league, and it has taken this long to accomplish it, and I think they did in this defenseman they got from Utah.
Why do you feel confident that they did that in this player? What have you read or heard in terms of Michael Kesselring?
Thank you for saying his name all day.
I love the name.
I cannot remember it.
Michael Kesselring.
Kesselring. Let me say it a few. Kesselring. Every time I think about him, I'm on Klinghoffer or I don't even know. I'm just a mess. Anyway, Kesselring. Okay.
Yeah.
I was 90% sure I was going to get it that time.
If he wears a real number, it'll look good on a jersey.
Yeah.
If he's good.
He got thrust into a top 4 role last year because of injuries. And his metrics are good. Defensively, he's not a guy that is going to be I don't think they need a guy that specializes anyway. There's some puck moving and everything. Everybody has to do some of everything, but he's not great at being an offensive threat necessarily. And if he's going to be paired with Owen Power, that's fine. He's got size. He's got some aggressiveness, and his defensive numbers are solid, if not even good. And so that fits, I think. Doan is a very interesting player to me because I think that while he's the same age as Peterka, I think maybe if they're the same draft, wasn't Peterka picked like 34? I think Doan was picked 37.
So he's 23.
Yeah.
Kesselring is 25.
Okay. So I don't know if Doan will ever be more than a role-playing player, bottom six, forward, but good size, good all-around 200-foot game. He does have, even though he hasn't produced much offense at all at the NHL level so far, a very good shot. I don't think I would want to call it elite, but it's above average. And so, if he can find his way, maybe he's a late bloomer and can become something. If not, I think they still have a dependable, solid player for the bottom of their lineup, which, can be useful. I mean, the Sabres have had shortcomings in those areas for many years. So I like these players. I don't know, balancing the trade out, there's no way that Peterka's, by far the best player in the trade. It's not even close. And so, I'm just trying to find something to avoid just piling on.
Well.
And so, but I do like, in a vacuum, I like these two players. Is it good value? I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit like McLeod and Savoy last year, although Peterka's proven to be an NHL player. Savoy, we didn't know. But it fits what I need, and I'm not as worried about how it looks on paper. But this will help my team be more fully formed if I do other things. If they end up at, like I said, elevating Quinn and Benson and whatever else they've got in the system, then I think this is a big, big miss. They're going to miss Peterka badly. But if they fill those other roles capably, I think this can be a useful acquisition.
So the best we're going to do then is, it's an if-come bet. You're sort of waiting to see what else happens next. And with the Sabres, I don't know, not everybody would have the stomach to bother to, think about it that way. I don't blame anybody for being, what word do you want? Some range between annoyed and irate. I don't blame anybody for that because it feels just like more of the same, where a good young player, always it's an offensive player, probably isn't happy, and the Sabres their hands are tied, and they do the best they can. But it didn't drag on. I mean, it happened before the draft, and I feel like that might be a good sign that the Sabres are sort of primed to do more things. I realize even saying that kind of tepid sort of compliment is even already at a point where, give me a break because this team has just done so many things wrong, and they don't get the benefit of the doubt. But I'm also choosing not to hate it. And I want to say, maybe you kind of said this too, it's a little bit it's personal. It feels like it's taking years off my life ripping them all the time for obvious things. And I go out even in with my family the other night, and someone in my family was like, "Oh, that was so good. You were so rough on them." That doesn't really feel good. I mean,
right.
Has the show ever sounded older? But
no, I know what we talked about this a little yesterday. I felt the same way leaving the show Tuesday.
It's just in this sport, I mean, the Sabres have not demonstrated a certain necessary level of commitment as an organization to kind of all right, well, this team can make a par here. It's going to be a team that can just sort of live in the middle, which I think for most of their history we were sort of settling for. They were never going to be the biggest money, the biggest market, the biggest draw, but to be in the middle and to figure out smart ways to put a team on the ice that can beat those teams, that's what we're here for. They were never going to be the new version of this isn't the New York Rangers, it's the Florida Panthers, a team that just the market is in their favor. Now there's a tradition, there's a legacy. Now that's sort of a destination, and it blew past us. I mean, Buffalo, they tried for a minute, hockey heaven, didn't happen. It was kind of ridiculous in retrospect. It was never going to happen. I'm choosing not to hate it because I think there could be, like basically you said it all, an intelligent team building, roster construction element here. They were probably at a disadvantage in terms of Peterka, and good on them if they recognized it and didn't just sit around and try to, I would say anyway, convince him to change his attitude or whatever it might be. And he's also not necessarily worth the money he'll get. Like, he's talented.
To this point, he's a one-dimensional player. To this point,
right? And
there is an argument to be made. I wouldn't want to make it because I would want to hang on to a 23-year-old player who almost had 70 points last year and has scored 28 and 27 goals within that the last 2 years, and try to improve his defensive shortcomings. But there is an argument to be made that he's part of the problem the team has.
Yeah.
And so, you're in a little bit of a situation where if you want to change it up, once you re-sign Zucker and Greenway, and this was a point you made when that was happening or maybe about to happen or whatever, like, you re-sign these guys, where's the change coming from? Like, what am I going to do to my lineup? So with that having been done before the season even ended in the spring, it's a little reminiscent, I hate to bring it up, but when they were in a position where they felt like they needed to do something to their group in 2018, and they traded Ryan O'Reilly that summer, because we got to do something, and we're not trading this guy, or this guy, so who's left? Okay, that guy, right? And then he goes to St. Louis and wins the Conn Smythe and the Cup and everything, and it's a disaster. But, Tage Thompson, it took a little while, but he's an excellent return, it turns out.
I just don't want to work to try to convince just like beaten down Sabres fans that they should be okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to represent that, but we kind of we don't also want to always want to say it out loud, but we kind of all know that one of these days they're gonna find the
right.
nut. Like they'll be the blind squirrel maybe, but they'll find the nut. And just my biggest criticism of them is the inaction, and this is action.
Yeah,
this is at least proactive. This will be different. We want the right-handed shot defenseman, the 23-year-old forward that maybe can help us on the bottom six. And even though his dad is among the many people who never wanted to play here and made sure he never had to, that'll be maybe interesting. But once they move to Utah, like all bets are off maybe in terms of the Dones. I don't know what happened there.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not trying to convince people out there that are upset and miserable in their existence as Sabres fans that you should be happy about this. I'm just trying to be. I always try to be honest. I don't look at any move they make and go, okay, how can I hate this? Right?
Yeah.
And neither do I go, how can I like this? And I'm sure I'm not doing that here. I objectively think these guys fit roles within the team and have the potential to change their makeup and make them maybe a better all-around team, provided they don't leave too much of a hole in the scoring department, which Peterka was excelling at. So they have to do something else. And I'm not at all assuming that they will. It's why I'm making the point about Quinn getting elevated or Benson or whatever. I think that's when I would want to hit a button and be like, this is a disaster. But I've got time here and another asset in Byram and the 9th pick and who knows what else to try to address that. I kind of doubt that they'll be able to attract that player in free agency. But you never know. I want to give them at least the room. Like if we get to, the week after free agency opens, what is that, next Wednesday or Thursday or Tuesday? It's Tuesday, July 1st.
Your birthday.
My birthday. I didn't even know what day my birthday was.
I respect that.
Give them a little room and see if they can't find their way to something that'll help them. If they don't do that, then this trade will be, I would classify it as a disaster. Regardless of how much I think those guys can help. There has to be an accompanying move.
Here we go again.
Right. This is like Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
Like, when does the other shoe drop? How big is the shoe, right? Brandon Ayuk, whatever.
But what's the lesson from that example?
Yeah,
it didn't really.
It didn't happen at all.
Become a disaster.
But, right. Correct. Yeah.
But the Sabres don't get that.
No,
again,
they do
benefit
not.
of the doubt.
Yeah, don't let me be heard saying, "Well, maybe Quinn." I don't want to do it. Because what did Jason Zucker say at the end of the year? Right. Hope is not a strategy. So,
right, yeah.
We can all hope that Jack Quinn, a year removed from, injuries that really messed up his season 2 years ago. Last year, I think he was still hindered by all that. If he can come all the way back, then that's a plus. And if Benson elevates and becomes a 50-point guy from being a 28-point guy, that's also okay, good. But it does not. You need something else here. It just has to happen. And if it doesn't, then I think they're in real trouble. And I'm not assuming that it won't happen.
I think maybe the players are speaking now on a Zoom call.
Yes.
Paul will be on with us later, maybe as soon as 3:30. Matthew Fairburn tweets, Kesselring and Doan lived together in Utah and are planning to live together in Buffalo. Do they think they have to move to Buffalo? Is that something that's being told to them, that they have to live here? Unlike their management team that doesn't live here?
I think that's how it works. Yeah, I think that is how it works.
Well, the player, it's,
Yep.
Management has its privileges.
Yes, it does. Yeah. Well, yeah, Kesselring is talking now, and I think Doan is talking at 4.
I bet.
I understand.
I mean, what's it like being Kevin Adams, right? What's it like being in that room? And it's just like, not even necessarily because you're consuming the public discourse, but because the score. It's been 5 years, and you're 26th in points, and nothing has really happened yet, and you're sort of living on borrowed time almost. Like, what's it like? It can't be fun. But here, so this trade happens. I wonder if Adams expected or found out, whatever it was, that so many people were going to hammer the Sabres for this trade, like Travis Yost, among others, just like this is not enough return. But he knows what Peterka's stance is. If he's like sort of the way I think about it, how the Sabres have just been unable to pull these kind of moves off, he would have that. Maybe he's got the proverbial next shoe to drop. He's got that. I think maybe he loves this trade. He got 2 players, needs, got rid of a guy that he maybe, I don't know this, but it's been speculated. Every effort that's been made to be like, we don't know if J.J. Peterka wants to move. Everybody thought he did.
Right.
It took 5 seconds at Adams' press conference the other day to be like, yeah, he's gone.
Right.
There was no question he was gone after that. So Adams knew that, and maybe that Peterka felt strongly. Peterka did not have say in the matter. That's the other side of that coin, is that it was up to the Sabres what they were going to do.
Right.
But he might love this. Wouldn't you want to maybe assume that, given the alacrity of it? It happened pretty fast here. We're not at the draft yet. What would many people do? Take it to Friday.
Right.
And it's also different that they're not all together in the same room this year for the one time with the draft, where maybe last year, maybe any other year, you would take it to Friday. You take it to L.A., and we'll talk when we get there. We'll see if we can get a better offer, whatever. But the Sabres went no, that's it.
Right.
And I think I'm a little bit excited about that.
That is one of the things, and again, I benefit of the doubt is in short supply with them, obviously, and with good reason. But to accept that return for Peterka without something else in the hopper, I think would be a really bad job. So if whoever, Travis Yost or whomever else is looking at the return and going, you should have been able to do better than this on Peterka. I think, sure. But it has the possibility to make them better provided they replace Peterka capably, credibly. And I know, you're never going to get back the value you had. So if you lost value, even if you replaced Peterka, you still lost value. I get it. But in terms of putting your team together, there's a scenario where if they can replace Peterka's offense with someone who can also be responsible defensively, they can be better for
it's
having
pretty big
made this move. It is a huge if.
Scoring has really not been there.
Right. So,
their problem.
But it's
their
why
biggest problem.
I don't want to. I don't feel like with a clear conscience I can just kill them for this, because it makes too much sense to me that there has to be something else. If I'm wrong about that, then get the big guns out, because this is a terrible deal if there isn't something else coming behind it.
So Paul, I think, is on the conference call with the players or with one of them.
He's going to join us at 3:30 regardless.
Okay.
He told me this thing's been going on for half an hour. He'll bail out if he has to. And
he's got a question in the hopper for Michael Kessler. Like, Mike, I got to go. Got to go, Terry.
You are going to do me a huge favor if you say that kid's name as often as possible today.
I, have written it down. How do you like Tom in shorts today? I mean, that is very, very bold.
He's going to a Bison game after this.
I'm going to a draft after this. I'm not going to want to wear pants. I am. Believe it or not. Since you said that, I'm going to bounce a bunch of questions off you during every break, because I don't know what I want to do.
I got to go talk to hockey parents I recognize.
Paul Hamilton, Greg Wyshynski, Joe Yerdon as we go through the day from Harbor Center. The 11-day power play well underway, runs through Sunday. The WGR team loaded with your favorites, your favorite media stars, as they take on the actual media stars
yes.
at 6. It's a fun one. Thanks for listening. We'll be right back with Paul to talk more about the Sabres move. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR. Live from Harbor Center, the 11-day power play.
Have I made this joke every time we've been here? You know who looks really good out here this game we're watching? Number 11.
Number 11. They're all number 11. You probably have. I may have done it too. I went ahead on Twitter and called it the world's greatest hockey event. Was Ian Harditz liking it? Shade? Because, there's almost no people in the crowd? Was he taking a shot at hockey or me?
Maybe he thought you were being snarky by calling it that. I don't know.
Definitely wasn't.
No, I know that.
Who was being snarky when Matthew Collar responded with a tweet, sadly, 5 of the players have already demanded a trade?
Ooh, that's tough.
That is tough.
That is tough.
That is tough.
Tough crowd out
there. Tough
there.
times.
Yep.
Yes. Paul Hamilton with us now on the Wester Hotline. Paul, hello from Harbor Center. Have you just been on the phone, quote, phone,
yes,
with one of the new Sabres?
With Mr. Kesselring, yes. We just finished with him. So we had a Zoom call with him, and I don't think he was expecting to be traded, but he said Buffalo was one of the teams he liked to watch on TV because of Dahlin and power and having that kind of talent on the defense. He said he's actually picked some things up by watching them and enjoyed that. And, of course, got to know Tage Thompson very well at the World Championship, and they've already been in touch. And he said Tage didn't have anything bad to say at all about this team. He said he was really excited about it and got him excited about coming here. And, of course, he's from the New Hampshire area, around Massachusetts, so he said he's always been out west, so this is great for his parents to be able to get to games and come to games. And he might have had the best period of his hockey career here in Buffalo last December. He began with a fight with Malenstein, and then he used his bazooka of a shot to score a goal. And then he completely turned Peterka around. Peterka just weakly waved at him as he went by, and then set up Schmaltz for a tap-in goal, all in the second period. He had the Gordie Howe hat trick.
This was the game that was an afternoon game the day after the Palm Trees in Texas news conference.
Yeah, we lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was,
did he wave to Peterka in the sky today? Or did Peterka wave at him?
So if you don't know much about Kesselring and you want to see him have a good game, head back to the highlights of that game, and you will get an eyeful.
What do you make of the deal, Paul? Overall, I mean, I think on paper it's very easy to be underwhelmed with the two players that the Sabres got back here. I think Peterka's clearly the best player in the trade, the most proven player in the trade. But I do think the players the Sabres acquired fill specific needs for them, and so I'm not inclined to just go atomic here about it. I really like Peterka a lot. But I think they did team-building wise, provided they do some other stuff here this summer. I think these two players can help them.
Yeah, and part of the problem is a lot of people, since they play in Utah, haven't heard of these two players. They don't know them. People don't know what Kesselring is going to bring to the team. He played top 4 minutes for Utah for most of the year because of injuries and performed very well. His numbers were excellent while doing it. And it just, they both changed the dynamic of the team. I mean, he's 6'5", he's almost 220. He doesn't love fighting, but he's perfectly willing to. I've already seen 3 of the fights he's had, one against Malenstein in that game. And as he said just a few moments ago, speaking to us, he goes, yeah, I don't love it, but he goes, I got to do it. He goes, he goes, you got to be there for your teammates. And he said, I'm 6'5", and sometimes it requires you do that, and I do it. And he said, and I know one of the fights I saw against Severson of the Blue Jackets, he blew him up. He absolutely creamed him on a legal body check, and that's what led to the fight. But fans would be that is out on Twitter, and just the body check that he threw on that play. His shot is elite. He kidded Thompson. He goes, I had the hardest shot in the NHL for one day. And he goes, you took it back the next day. He goes, you could have let me keep it. He said, you could have let me keep it for one day, more than one day. So they spent a lot of time at the World Championships together and got to know each other pretty well. So it wasn't something he was looking for, but it's happened, and he said, this is the type of team he wants to come to, an up-and-coming team where he can become a big part of it. He said he's ready to take on the role that they would like him to take on, and he took it on last year, and I think did a great job. But, one thing they did with him is he did spend like 140 games in the American Hockey League. He was drafted by Edmonton, then traded to Arizona. So he got a chance to develop. He's 25 years old, and now, after his first full year in the NHL, and he's had a chance to develop, so he's ready now for this opportunity that he's gotten. And I think that's a big part of it, too. And Lindy Ruff has talked about changing culture. Well, that's what this does. And, yeah, the core – Cousins and Peterka are the two that got traded, but it's not their fault. But this core wasn't working. It's as simple as that. And they're the ones that happened to be traded. One wanted to stay desperately, and the other didn't. But, they're the ones that got traded. But this wasn't working. And to me, that's more of the topic here, not what they got back or anything. For me, it's like, why in the 6th year of this rebuild with this general manager are people still asking to be traded? That's the topic. You shouldn't be 6 years into it and be worse than you were 6 years ago or 5 years ago, and still have 23-year-old guys who just scored 55 goals in his last 2 games and have only been here for 3 years decide they want out. That is the question. That's what Terry Pegula should be asking right now. Why are people still wanting to get out of here after 5 years of your program? And to me, that's a lot. That's more than what we're talking about they got back for Peterka.
That seems right. Paul Hamilton with us on the Western Hotline. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog at Harbor Center for the 11-day power play. If you can hear the music, enjoy that. Sort of roles reversed. Often when we talk to Paul, there's music playing behind him.
Right.
But this time it's on us.
Mm-hmm.
Kesselring, one of 2 NHL players ever to be born in South Carolina. Ryan Hartman is the other. And Doan, one of 10 ever born in Arizona. And that includes Thompson. And both Kachucks.
And Austin Matthews. I believe he
Phoenix.
He grew up playing.
That sounds right.
He grew up in Arizona, definitely.
Where he was born, but
I think that's right.
Yeah.
Both Kachucks.
All right.
And Josh Doan.
Right.
Son of Shane Doan. Any thoughts on him, Paul? You haven't talked to him yet, right?
No, he comes up at 4, and I was listening to the start of Dreger and Ray Ferraro's podcast, and they, of course, tackled this trade immediately. And Ferraro talked about Doan, and he said, listen, he goes, this is a 23-year-old kid, he goes, people are going to like the way he plays. He goes, he's a very good forechecker. He gets in on the forecheck, which makes him very difficult to play against. He goes, he's got a heck of a shot. And he said, quite honestly, as he watched him play last year, he was just trying to find his way through the NHL in his first year through the NHL. He goes, you could see it by watching him. So he said there's definitely an upside to Josh Doan. He goes, how far that can go? He goes, that's going to be up to his development and everything. But he just talked about his first year in the NHL, and there were signs that showed him that maybe he could be a good number 3 winger on your team, or somebody like that can turn into a fairly decent player for them. And again, it just changes the culture of this team. The Florida Panthers have shown us the last 2 years, they have a big, strong team. And if you want to goon it up and you want to play a slam-bam style, they're right there with you. They can beat you that way. They can beat you with skill. They can beat you any way you want to play it. And of course, it's a copycat league, and the Sabres have almost none of that. And, the Sabres are very easy to play against because they have smaller players, and that's what they drafted. They went out and drafted a bunch of smaller players who are starting to make the NHL, but, that's not what's working in the NHL right now.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why I know some of the fan base is really fired up about a report from Michael Russo, longtime Minnesota Wild beat guy, that the Wild wanted Peterka and that Rossi was the key piece in the trade coming back the other way. And we talked with Chad DiDomenicis about this, I think, the other day, and I think he and I agreed. Like, I don't want to put words in Chad's mouth, but for myself, I like Rossi fine as a player and as an offensive player and maybe even a 200-foot player, but he's 5'9".
It's more of the same.
I did not need them to go do that. I mean, I think on paper you look at his hockey card stats and you're going to go, yeah, that's your replacement for Peterka, even if it's center versus wing, whatever. That's 60 points. There it is. But I would not have liked that trade right now at all.
No,
I agree. With the caveat that they're going to do something else to address the top end of their lineup.
And during the playoffs, the Wild did not have him in a prominent role. So my question would be why? He's been around long enough, and why wouldn't you use him in a prominent role, which would give me a little, to sit back and say, okay, why is that? But you went out and got Josh Norris, and I would not be excited to move Kulich out of center. I'm just not. I really saw a difference in him when he became a center, and I don't really have a huge problem with going into the season with those two as your top two centers, and you have somebody else on the team that can slide over if you need to. If it doesn't work, you can throw Thompson in the middle. He's fine in the middle. He's scored 47 goals as center a couple years ago. So I have no problem with that. And so they have a backup plan should Kulich fail or not do as well as you might think he should or something on those lines. So, I'd be more – I'm looking for wingers right now is what I'd be looking for that have some size that can play in top six positions.
Paul, will we hear from the Sabres on this trade, or will it wait until the draft is over, or what?
Yeah, we will talk to Adams tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay.
Yeah, he talks at the end of both days, so he'll talk tomorrow at the end of tomorrow and at the end of Saturday.
Right.
So after the first round.
Right.
You think? Tomorrow night.
What's that?
Adams, tomorrow night.
Yeah, after the first round, we will
have a chance
to talk to him. Yes.
Okay. Any questions for us, Paul?
No, you're just enjoying hockey down there.
We are.
It's too bad you couldn't go down there when it was like 90 degrees or going to a nice ice rink. Today's kind of comfortable outside. But.
Yeah, that's true. I went and got the sweatshirt that Bulldog is wearing, so we match, by the way.
Yeah.
If you come and join us, make sure to wear the new gray WGR quarter zip. Just
okay. I thought maybe you were wearing Hartford Whaler sweatshirts or something like that.
A Pronger jersey? No.
A Pronger jersey?
I didn't bring mine. Thank you, Paul.
Okay, guys.
Wait, Paul, you still there? Do you happen to know your sponsor, Read by Heart? Because I'm using my phone for the video.
Equitable Advisors.
Equitable Advisors, planning for your futures about more than just money. All I needed was for you to start it up. And Relax Honda, relax, we got this. Hey!
Paul, you're relieved.
All right, Paul, thanks.
You got
there it is. Still got it. Greg Wyshynski today coming up at 4. We'll talk about the Sabres, the trade, and the finals a little bit, maybe, with Greg, who was on with us not that long ago during the finals, I think. We talked to Greg Wyshynski. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog at Harbor Center. We'll be right back. This is WGR. Live from Harbor Center today, site of the 11-day power play, perennially has become an important and popular event here on the local calendar. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, the Zamboni is out. What, these guys get breaks?
Yeah, it's a 3-hour game at 3 periods, and so 10 minutes of each hour are with the Zamboni.
All right.
You ever played hockey?
Okay.
You ever played hockey for 3 hours? I appreciated the breaks. The one year I did this, I really appreciated the break.
I think the only hockey I've ever played, I mean, there was definitely not a Zamboni present
right.
on a pond in the woods behind the Alabiso's house.
That would have been hours.
That was hours, in the dark.
Yeah.
There were no breaks.
All right.
I don't know.
You were young.
That's fair. The Marco Rossi report here with the Sabres and how they were offered, a blue-chip draft prospect. He was a good NHL player from Minnesota. You're glad they didn't take it?
Yes. I don't think that maybe they'll trade Bowen Byron for him. I don't know. I think he's a good player. I just think he's repetitive for what they have. You have to remember it. You have to work to remember that they have Josh Norris on this team. And I know banking on him is a risky proposition, but they've cast their lot there. They made that trade. He is under contract for more than $8 million for the foreseeable future. It might be all of it. 7 years, 6 years, whatever. It's a commitment. And so, yes, Rossi's more of a setup guy than Norris is, but I don't have a need for a small center on this team right now. I don't. And if Norris, who has seemingly been made of glass in his NHL career so far, breaks down, it's going to be very easy to trace back to you should have traded for Marco Rossi, especially if he, signs an extension in Minnesota and hits or goes somewhere else and hits. It could be a big whiff. But sitting here today, I don't think it would have made sense to me. It would have been more of the same type of player that they already have. That's why if there isn't another move, I would really question it even more. That might push me to I'd be tempted. Even though it's repetitive for what I've already got, it is still an offensive player that's going to get you some of what you're losing in Peterka. But to me, I would not have applauded that deal. I don't think that's not a player that I was really interested in, even though he's available and reasonably productive.
Let's see what else happens. Greg Wyshynski coming up. The fans have been heard, and they want more Monopoly talk from us.
Oh, is that right?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. After yesterday's show. If you missed yesterday's show, it's probably too late. If you missed the morning show, you can go to the Odyssey app, on-demand audio, and catch up. It was Sal in for Jeremy today. Is today Jeremy's golf event?
He and Nate Geary are currently playing 100 holes of golf. They might be closing in on completion. I think maybe 6 or 7 is the target to end. They started at 5:45, I think, this morning. And so,
wow.
Yeah, he was off today for that, and he has tomorrow off, I guess, to recover. So Sal was in for Jeremy today.
That's respectable, right? Getting a day off after?
I think so. We were talking last night, and he said I think it's about 35 miles that they will walk.
Right, he's walking.
They walk it. Yeah, they do not. They have different. Owen went and caddied for him around lunchtime, and he's going to be here playing in this game in a couple of hours.
Two-sport athlete
at Harbor Center. But yeah, about 35 miles of walking in one day.
Pretty good. Also for a great cause.
There have been years where Jeremy has done that. I think it's almost always on a Thursday, and then 2 days later done the ride for Roswell. And I think he has stopped doing that because that's a bit much to go ride 45 miles on a bike after walking 35 miles on 2 days before.
You're 2/3 of the way to some sort of a new age triathlon
right,
achievement.
Right.
Get a swim in, and you've almost got it. Greg Wyshynski next. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
The Buffalo Sabres got active last night. They have officially traded forward J.J. Peterka to Utah for defenseman Michael Kesselring and for Josh Doan. Kesselring, 25, played 82 games last season. He put up 29 points, while Doan, 23, played in 51 games and put up 19 points. For Utah, Peterka signing a long-term deal with them, 5-year deal worth $7.7 million per year. We've also had multiple reports that the NHL and the NHL Players Association are negotiating a potential increase for regular season games going from 82 to 84. That, among other topics, in the current CBA talks. Over in football, Bengals staying in downtown Cincinnati at least until 2036. The Bengals in Hamilton County have agreed on a new deal to modernize Paycor Stadium. Former Ravens kicker Justin Tucker, he has been suspended the first 10 games of the 2025 season for violating the league's personal conduct policy. This does come after an investigation by the league into the allegations regarding sexual misconduct. And the Bisons, they are going to host the Iron Pigs tonight at 6:30. That game can be heard on our sister station, the Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
How many bees is a swarm? Is 2 a swarm or 3, whatever? How many does it have to be? And
like 7.
It's Mike Schopp.
How many times do you have to be stung to have been swarmed? And I was like, dude, I got swarmed. I got stung only once, but I was swarmed.
And the Bulldog.
You insist you were swarmed.
There were bees, man, like plural, big, lots of S's. Lots of E's and S's. Bees. that was not
bees.
fun. Right. That was not fun.
On WGR.
Hey, man, that kind of hurt.
Sports Radio 550.
Am I hearing more NHL regular season games as a thing?
Yeah, 84.
Whose idea was that? Was it Greg's?
Yes, he wants more exposure.
Just a little bit more,
he needs
stretch out the season.
He needs more time.
I don't know, somehow the dollar per word ends up better because it's, I don't know, Greg Wyshynski, one of our favorites. I think Greg, actually, I wanted to ask him about this, is the only ESPN personality that we get on a regular basis. It feels like ESPN, I mean, I used to work there. You have to go through all their system to get anybody. But are we just sort of doing an end around with Greg because he likes us, or, he pretends to? I don't know.
I sure hope he likes us. It's going to be awkward if he doesn't.
I feel like somebody at ESPN wants us to contact them about booking you.
Well, so I understand today they asked Stephen A. and McAfee, and they were both busy. So then they went to the third most important person at this network, and they were busy too. So then they asked the 905th most important person, and they're like, "Yeah, he'll go on." By the way, I didn't come up with the 84-game season. I just spent 2 months of my life in the last year schlepping back and forth between South Florida and Edmonton, covering more hockey games. Is not top of the pops for me right now as far as life goals.
Was that in the wind? It kind of blindsided me. I mean, I knew that CBA negotiations were going on, so I guess anything is on the table. But I don't feel like I'd heard anything at all. Like with the NFL, we're always hearing years in advance, 17 games, eventually 18 games. I don't remember hearing anything about 84 games.
No, I've actually been on this story for a few years now. I wrote about it in 2022. That the NHL was having internal discussions about going to 84 games. And so there's obvious reasons for it, which is, you'll make more money with a regular season game than you will a preseason game. And there was a thought that the preseason was too long to begin with. And then there's more practical reasons, which is that if you look at the way the schedule is currently structured, you don't play your divisional opponents an even number of times. There are some that you play more than others. Based on how the schedule is currently built. So by just adding 2 more games, everything gets evened out. You play your divisional rivals the same number of times across the board. And obviously, when we talk about revenue, there's more money in playing a geographic rival than there would be playing someone from the other conference. So it has a functional reason. It has a financial reason. And I mean, if the players are okay with it, and I know that some say, my God, like our bodies are already put through hell, and now you want to add games to the schedule, then I'm okay with it. And obviously, when it's going to be in the new CBA, as me and Kevin Weeks reported last night, then the NHLPA is signing off on it.
Right. All right. Note to self: pay closer attention to what Greg writes. I apologize for not having noticed that.
Do we think we'll detect the difference? The schedule point's good. Like the Sabres would probably like to have Toronto in here one more time, and maybe not Florida or Tampa, but to even that out a little bit, that makes sense. But I'm not sure I'll detect the difference between 82 and 84 myself.
Well, you'll detect the difference in two ways. First off, from what I understand, and we'll find out everything tomorrow because it's expected they'll get the CBA ratified tomorrow. First thing to notice is we're probably going to start the season earlier. We might start it now at the end of September, like 1 week earlier, because we're going to have these extra games. So that's one part of it that'll be an obvious detection. The other part of it is now the Sabres will miss the playoffs by 2 additional games.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Well, speaking of the Sabres,
yes.
Dun, dun, dun. What's your read on the Peterka trade, Greg?
My read on it is kind of like against the grain a little. Kevin Adams did poorly there. And I think the important thing to remember is there's always context for this stuff. Peterka didn't want to play here. Wherever he was going, whoever got him had to sign him to the contract that was in the neighborhood of what Utah gave him, which is $7.7 annually for 5 years, which is not a cheap sum. So you have that, and then you also have Kevin Adams believing that he has an idea of what the lineup needs, and what the lineup needed was a tough, physical right-handed defenseman, which he got in Kesselring. He gets Doan, who I think has some upside. And whether this is a positive or a negative, I can't tell you, but it's undeniable that the players that he acquired are going to be cheaper as a duo, not only next year, but probably after they get their next contract as restricted free agents, than what you would have paid Peterka or any of the veteran players that have been rumored to go back the other way for Peterka that in deals that didn't happen. So there's a financial reason for it, a competitive reason for it, and at the end of the day, the same story that we keep seeing in Buffalo, which is guys. So all that being said, just blasting the Sabres for the return on this. But given all that, I think he did okay.
Yeah, we've been on for an hour here, and I feel like both players that they got in this trade serve, to me, a pretty obvious purpose. The question is, what do you do beyond this to replace Peterka's offense? Because I think everything that you just said checks out, right? His unwillingness to be here and be a part of the core, maybe even his shortcomings as a 200-foot player play into that. They maybe weren't eager to commit a big, long deal to someone who, to this point, is only one-dimensional. If the dimension is important, offense, but still, I like the guys that they got, but I need to do something with Bowen Byram and the 9th overall pick or whatever else to find my way to someone that can come in here and score 30 goals like Peterka was tracking toward becoming a 30-goal scorer.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's been a certain overhyping of Peterka. Let's be honest. I mean, I think we know what he is now. I think he's got the ability to become a really good, well-rounded player if he commits to the defense, but there's no guarantee that's going to stick. No guarantee that all of a sudden his goal totals are going to leap, although I do think his numbers will be better, if the Utah power play is better next season, let's say. But I mean, what's his ceiling? Is it Brandon Hagel? Is it Kyrou? Is it what he is now? There's a lot more questions about him than I think a lot of people are willing to admit, because it's fun to just project guys. There was talk about Chicago trading a 3rd overall pick for this guy. Are you insane? We know what he is. He's really good, but I don't know if he's that good. Right. So there's a lot of that, as far as Peterka goes. But as far as replacing him, I mean, look, we probably have to have a serious conversation at some point here about what next season is supposed to look like for the Sabres. And if they trade him and they trade Byram and they don't address the goaltending, and if they don't bring in somebody who's going to replace those goals, I mean, are we kind of seeing a quiet tank next year ahead of a really loaded draft with a generational prospect at the top of it.
Oof. Give me a minute on that idea.
Yeah, seriously, I feel like you just kicked me in the groin.
Give me a minute on that one. I mean, Greg, like the broad brush with the Sabres is the as we all have decided to put it the same way, like players that want to play here. The Sabres have talked about that. Just how deeply rooted is the problem? We can all, certainly Bulldog and I know you can remember this market just being top of the charts, at least in the States, for NHL, for the rabid, loyal fan base. And the team only had to be good, not even insanely good for that. I mean, is it so far gone right now with the Sabres that that's just like ancient history and whatever it is, ownership commitment? We're sitting here, and I mean, I'm sure other markets have this too, but this beautiful, sidecar for a hockey facility, Harbor Center, where they practice, and the NHL, visiting teams practice. I don't know. I just wonder, in short, how bad it is.
I mean, it's real bad, but I think it's not unfixable. The biggest issue is the losing. I mean, this is a drought that's historic. I think the last time the Sabres made the playoffs was before the first Avengers movie came out. I mean, it's just gone on for this long that if you're a player looking for anywhere to go in free agency, it's going to be one of the last places you look because of not only the lack of success on the ice, but also the coaches and number GMs. Like it's a festering problem, and it doesn't help when guys keep wanting to leave. Like, it certainly doesn't help. I would say the Pegula factor, the money, the finances. We talked about the money they're saving on this Peterka deal with these two guys coming in. Are they going to spend it? Most people would probably say no, because they just haven't in recent years. And so, it's a combination of factors, but I think it all comes back to when you're a free agent, if you've got options, you're always going to choose the option that's going to put you closer to being in the playoffs. You're always going to choose the option for a team that has upward trajectory. And despite the fact the Sabres do have a number of really good young players on this roster and in the system that just haven't shown that they're ready to turn the corner yet, in the same way that, say, like Ottawa has.
Right. Greg Wyshynski, our guest on the Western Hotline, Mike Schopp and the Bulldog at Harbor Center for the 11-day power play. The draft is this weekend, tomorrow night, round one. I hear everybody keep saying that they think this, experiment of having everybody stay home and the draft, sort of isolated like it's going to be tomorrow night in LA is a one-time thing. Why did they do it? And maybe if Greg, why are they going to get away from it so quickly?
Well, I mean, they're doing it because that's what I shouldn't say all of them, but a large enough portion of the GMs wanted to do it. And it's the same thing the NBA does. I mean, we watched the draft last night. You see everybody in their little rooms high-fiving each other when they, pick some French guy no one's ever heard of. Like, the NFL does the same thing. So it's not like it's out of the norm for there to be a decentralized draft. It's just that in the NHL, we've done it for so long with the big arena and all the tables and everybody glad-handing each other and having conversations to set up what happens over the next few weeks. And so they wanted to try something different, and I think they've already found that it has challenges and too many downsides. So, I mean, you've heard the same things I've heard, and I've talked to some people that would truly believe this will be a one-and-done thing and that we will be back to a traditional draft format next year. But, I mean, that's kind of why I think they tried it. And again, like, it all comes back to cost. It does cost a good amount of money to bring your entire staff with you on the road and put them up in hotels and do all that stuff. Depending on what city it is, it can cost a lot of money. But ultimately, the experience, the communication, the ability to talk to other people while you're there, and network and stuff, I think it certainly outweighs the money they're saving on this experiment.
Yeah, I guess. Like, that's one thing. I heard a conversation this morning on our station about this, like, that hockey was going to miss having everybody together. Like, this is their the finals isn't it. Like, everybody gets together for the draft. Whereas football, for one, like, they have the Super Bowl or the Combine. Yeah. These other events where maybe everybody convenes, so it's not as necessary, but it's also more efficient that way. So Okay, one-time thing.
Yeah, I like the spectacle of everyone being together and the GMs being able to mingle on the floor. Greg, the only issue I've ever had with watching the draft when it's formatted that way, the way it always has been, is every team parading 15 people up to the stage and giving the exact same speech about the greatest fans in the world watching at Pizza Whatever or in the atrium of their building, and congratulations to the Cup winner, and now with the 14th selection in the NHL. Oh, my God!
Here comes a French guy you can't name.
Yeah, right. It just is so repetitive. Like, if they would get a handle on that, like, okay, no more than 4 personnel from the team get to go up, all right? The whole thing gets a little monotonous to me.
You're like the Paul Maurice of the NHL draft. Just make players.
Right.
That's right.
Well, what about, like, moving into, the draft itself here? Like, do you expect, without the GMs all being there, we've seen some trades already, and this big one in Buffalo, involving Utah. Do you think it's going to be a busy 24, 48 hours here, like swap meet time, or do you think it'll be quiet?
I think it'll be busy. I mean, the certainty about the salary cap and where it's going over the next several seasons, obviously has allowed teams to not only, retain their own players, but get a little adventurous about the players they want to add. See Utah with JJ Peterka last night. You have a ton of teams that are trying to move their first-round picks. Basically, everything after around the 6th or 7th pick is in play. And that's not only trying to maybe move up and get a player that they want by packaging picks, but it's also looking out on the outside and trying to get players to bolster groups. I do think teams are going to be aggressive, and I think the other part of it too is that once you get past the first 3 or 4 big names, it's kind of a pretty thin free agent crop too, especially at the center position. And so I think that'll play into it too, where you might not be able to find the remedies that you need via free agency this year. So you might have to get kind of creative and aggressive and find them through the trade market.
What's the scuttlebutt on Marner, as far as you know?
I mean, everybody I've talked to at the Stanley Cup final and in the last few days is it's going to be very do financially. I don't know, but everybody's kind of thinking that's the case, and that's interesting for a couple of reasons. One, because it does put him as already won. He's not going to be looked at a year. He can work within the structure of having a bunch of veteran players there that have had success. Like, I think that's a good landing spot for him. The other intrigue is to discuss an old friend of yours, is that Jack Eichel is in his last contractual season. And so you wonder, would Marner help keep him there to know that he's going to have a running mate there for the next 7 or 8 years? Is it manifest destiny that he's going to come back east? There's a lot of people that believe he's either going to play for the Rangers or the Bruins next year. So that's part of the math too. And then if Eichel does leave, well, now you've got Marner there, to kind of bring you along to whatever the next phase of that franchise is. So a lot of people say Vegas. I mean, we've heard LA, we've heard Utah, we've heard Carolina, Columbus, heard a lot of different places, but it does seem, I think, maybe out west is where Marner ends up.
Boy, I would think Carolina would want to be really busy. I mean, they tried to trade for him, during the season, of course, couldn't pull it off. And so they've got a ton of cap room, and they're waiting to do something, I would think, big. And really, who's next? Brock Besser? That's a pretty big drop.
Yeah, John Tavares. I mean, like, there's some other names out there, but none of them really have anywhere near the impact of. I mean, Marner's a special player. He gets kind of dinged for the postseason performances and maybe some of the attitudinal stuff, but like he's a really, really good defensive forward to go along with a guy that can probably get you 100 points depending on who he plays with. So I'm fascinated to see where he ends up, and I hope for him. And I should mention that Anaheim is another place to really keep an eye on for Marner. Wherever it is, I just hope that it's the right market for him, because I really think that he's one of those guys that just got his soul crushed in Toronto so many times that I just want him to go someplace where he can be himself and thrive.
I like it. Vegas, Anaheim, Raleigh, North Carolina, all places, Greg. It's a little bit stunning we're not included in Top Chef's season of Destination Canada, where they went to Toronto, somewhere outside of Calgary, and then Milan, of course. What a disappointment. I mean, this is a mutual admiration thing, you and me, with that show. And how do you not go to the Maritimes? Vancouver. How do you not go to Vancouver? How do you not go to Quebec?
All right. So from what I understand, because I listened to an interview that Gail Simmons gave, Judge Gail Simmons.
Canadian.
They built the studio and the kitchen in Toronto, so that limited the number of places that they could go. When they left that studio, it was to go to Calgary for like the last two challenges before they went to Italy. As far as traveling around Canada, I don't think they necessarily had the budget to do it. Plus, they wanted to kind of stay near the studio that they built. And then, the other part of it, too, is Destination Canada is what screwed them. And from what I gather, like, Destination Canada is the official travel slogan of Canada. And so in order to get the money for the show, they had to, like, name the season that.
Oh, wow.
What I understand. So it made it seem like it was going to be the great food truck race through the Yukon or something. But it wound up just being, hey, we're going to cook poutine in a studio in Toronto this week. Is what it ended up being.
I was sitting down for like the Terry Fox movie where he's just running across the country, and I'm getting all the locales and all that, but not at all. Well, you mentioned at the top your travels. I mean, I am not a great flyer, so Fort Lauderdale to Edmonton would not have been my idea of fun. I would have openly rooted against teams that would have added to my miles, and that's 2 years in a row. What do you have for perspective on the Panthers and their repeat?
I wrote a big essay about it at the end of the Stanley Cup final. Like, they're such a special team in the sense that I talked to an NHL player who put it like this: it's not that they want to beat you; it's that they want to embarrass you. And that could mean the stuff that they say on the ice, the stuff that they do on the ice, the hit them high, hit them hard, the Sam Bennett skating through goalies. Or it could mean, when they score one goal, all of a sudden they score 4 goals and then you're out of the game, which is what they did a lot in the playoffs. I have never seen a more blood in the water type team in my life than the Panthers. Not only when they can smell fear, but also when they can smell the opportunity to put an opponent away. It was just really, really impressive. And the other part of it, too, in speaking about a guy like Bennett who won the Conn Smythe, this is the path forward for teams, and the Sabres are one of them, for teams that are looking to kind of like, become competitive. He was the 4th overall pick for Calgary. He didn't play like it in Calgary. They didn't want to give him a long-term contract, and they didn't want him to be taken in the Seattle expansion draft. And so the Panthers anteed up something at the time that seemed like a pretty good amount of picks and prospects to get him. And then he ended up being, the most important player on their team this postseason. So lesson learned. When you look at the Zegras trade, when you look at some of these other things, maybe even Peterka fits in that category for Utah. Stop spending all your time trying to get 29-year-olds. Like get the guys that are like 22, 23, whose teams are kind of iffy about them, and hope that a change of scenery results in them being a great player for you.
Right. What do you think the future holds for McDavid after 2 straight finals losses and eligible for an extension now, July 1st?
I'd be shocked if he signed it on July 1st. I wrote about McDavid this week for ESPN.com. Everything's on the table for him. I mean, he isn't – the people who thought that he would put pen to paper the minute he could because Draisaitl signed his contract were never right. I reported that back in January. And in this case, I think he's waiting to see what the plan is for the next few seasons from Stan Bowman and from the Oilers. And if he's going to kind of vibe it out and there's a chance he could leave. I'm not saying it's guaranteed he's going to stay, but the way it was put to me by a source was that he's looking for reasons to stay. And when I hear that kind of tells me he's probably going to stay. Then the question becomes, is it going to be long or is it going to be short? Is it going to be 8 or is it going to be 4? And I tend to believe that he's going to take a shorter term to give Draisaitl in 2 seasons to keep this window.
Yeah.
To just absolute get a Scrooge McDuck bin of free agent cash in his early 30s when the cap is at its highest point.
Thank you, Greg, for this, all the time you've given us. Enjoy your summer, and we'll look you up again in the fall, assuming Stephen A. Smith turns us down.
Well, I appreciate it. I always love talking to you boys. It's always an adventure, which I appreciate. And best of luck to the boys from Buffalo in what I'm sure will be a spending spree this summer for the Sabres.
Yeah, your time always means a lot to us. I'm reminded, we're down here, Mike mentioned Harbor Center here by Canal Side. You sat with us at the draft in 2016. I remember outside on the
correct.
On the dock there. And so I was reminded of that coming down here. Draft time, obviously Buffalo's not hosting the draft. But anyway, you're always very generous with us, and we appreciate it.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
That's the Alexander Nylander draft?
Yes.
Who could not call it that? Thank you, Greg. Greg Wyshynski on the Wester Hotline. Mike Lesowski, one of the founders of the 11-Day Power Play, joins us next for an update. Thanks for listening. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
We've been living in sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over, it's about time. Oh, all sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. I want to go down the rabbit hole.
The Buffalo Sabres have traded forward J.J. Peterka to Utah. That confirmed last night. In return, the Sabres do acquire defenseman Michael Kesselring and forward Josh Doan. Utah also signs Peterka to a long-term deal, 5 years, worth $7.7 million per year. Owen Paul Hamilton has more on this up at our website, WGR550.com. Bengals are staying in downtown Cincinnati, that at least until 2036, as the Bengals and Hamilton County have agreed on a new deal to modernize Paycor Stadium, while former Ravens kicker Justin Tucker, he has been suspended the first 10 games of the 2025 season for violating the league's personal conduct policy. This does come after an investigation by the league into the allegations for Tucker regarding sexual misconduct. And the Bisons, they will host the Iron Pigs tonight at 6:30. That game can be heard on our sister station, the Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Welcome back to Harbor Center, the 11-day power play. 9 years running now. Mike and Amy Lesowski, the founders, and Mike Lesowski is with us now for an update. Am I right, if you remember, that last year when we sat here at this moment, the game was tied?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
It was like,
oh, what a memory.
We have 1,090 to 1,036. I think, mathematically that's still pretty close.
It really is. It's amazing. I was just having a conversation earlier with someone who was in from out of town. I was explaining the event, and they're like, 8 days in, and you guys are like within that many goals. Like, yeah, sometimes it like flip-flops the entire time. It's pretty uncanny.
Well, so how was the week been? You're a little more than a week in now, and in terms of donations and just the spirit of the thing seems like as good as ever.
Yeah, Amy and Nate and Sarah, who run this thing day to day, have a well-oiled machine going on, and this has easily been the most the smoothest ride so far in terms of like the operations of it. As I said that, we had a player get injured just in the shift before, which we never like to see. But it is hockey, and for 11 days that's going to happen. But overall, the operation of it has gone really, really well, very, very smoothly. And the fundraising is equally as good. We've just surpassed over $1.5 million, which is amazing. We set a $1.7 million goal. And if we don't get to it, we'll get really close to it by the end of the event.
Does it tick up once the event begins?
Yeah, it really does. And the weeks leading up to it as well. Like, I think we just surpassed $1 million as the event started. So we brought in over $500,000 just in the last week, which is pretty interesting if you think about it that way.
Yeah.
We sell a lot of merchandise. We get people in here, regular donations, folks that once they play, there's donations come into their pages. Some teams choose to do a fundraising, like Dennis Gilbert, the pro that used to play for the Sabres. They do a big fundraising event after their event, so they'll bring in a bunch of money. So there's kind of some unique things that go on to bring in money during the event.
You have 3,000 players this year, I read. I think that's the record.
Yep. Just we didn't get over 3,000, but it's close. Most players ever by far. We added some shifts early on so that we can allow for more players to play. More players is more fundraising, more dollars, more impact. So, we want to keep in the spirit of the 11-day power play, and we will always do that. But to the extent that we can get more players, we always will.
Let me ask you about, or just point out, what I think might be the importance of this building to this endeavor. I mean, my daughter plays hockey. We're all around hockey a lot. And, man, what you might not be able to do without Harbor Center downtown in such a beautiful place.
Yeah.
It still seems as nice as ever, this many years later.
Yeah, it's very well maintained. What I really like about it plays into our event in the context of the player experience, right? We have players that play every year, new players. And you guys know this because you've been around, and the players that play, they love it. We treat them like pros. Their locker rooms are done. Their name tags are there. This arena also, the fans can't be interacting with the players, and it was designed like that because of the pros that play here. So the players have their own unique area that they can only go to. The fans have their spectator area. So it's almost like a professional atmosphere, and I think the players really kind of dig that, having that experience of being treated that way.
Yeah, it definitely feels different than going to holiday or leisure or whatever.
Right.
By a lot, right? So
right.
That has to matter.
Yeah, and nothing against those rinks. We play in all of them, but just has a little bit.
Yep.
To Mike's point, it plays perfectly into, what we're trying to accomplish with the event.
Classy joint. Mike Lesowski with us. So you'll be on the ice tonight?
I will. With the WGR 550 team.
Okay.
Yes. I'm sure there'll be shenanigans and lots of fun to be had.
Now, normally you've played against the GR team, isn't that right?
Yeah, I've done both. GR plays against another group of folks they call the Media All-Stars.
Oh, I'm familiar.
Which is a very tongue-in-cheek name of their team. No offense, fellas and ladies. But, I played on both sides, and it's fun. Like, everybody knows each other. It's just it'll be fun. There'll be probably 20 or more players per team, which is about the max that fits on the bench, and there'll be a lot of hooting and hollering.
Now, I know when this first started, the original 40, and it was continuous, and you were going after a world record that had been set. Correct me if I'm wrong. Edmonton. Then you took the record, and then did they not take it back? And if you, where does that stand? Are you?
Yep.
Is there something cooking eventually to take another run at the record? What are the future plans?
Yeah, we don't have set plans right now, but it's a really unique event. It's a completely different animal. It's more logistics with less people, so it's a different animal, but it gives the event a lot of interest in the community, right? There's a lot of research out there that shows the harder the challenge, the more money you can raise, and that goes for marathon runs or bike rides, whatever it is. So that was kind of the initial allure, and we've done it twice now. I personally love the event. It's not easy to put on. And each individual has to raise a lot of money because we'll always have at least $1 million goal. So there's that. But I'd like to say that there's a loose plan to do it, but we don't have a set plan right now. And where it stands, to answer your question, is there's a group in Edmonton and a group in Calgary that have both done it. And we had this little gentleman's agreement where we would break the record by a little. And meaning an hour or so.
Leave it attainable for someone else.
Yeah,
to beat.
And
right.
Unfortunately, our friends in Calgary didn't abide by that gentleman's agreement, and they beat it by 9 hours last time.
Oh boy! So
the next time we do it, it's going to be an even bigger challenge. But we'll do it.
Wasn't Gretzky nice like that? Who knew at the time? He was like, "I'm just going to leave it right here at 897 or whatever." So it's somebody can break it.
Yeah, but it took a little bit to do it.
It took a while.
I don't think the assist record's in jeopardy.
Maybe not, yeah. So Sneaky Joe on the GR team. I got to expect a stick measurement or two in this game later. I would think he'd be out here looking for an edge. Who else, Bulldog? Your son, who's now with our team, not just your son.
Yeah, he's not stepping in because I work here. He works here too now. I haven't seen him in the gear, Mike, since November of 21.
I have to be his defenseman. I'm going to have to step it up.
Yeah, please take good care of him. The groins could be in for a tough go. He's played a couple times, but that's it. Just he's had 2 skates in the last few months. Before that, the gear had been gathering moss in the basement. So I'm eager to see him step on the ice again.
It'll be a ton of fun. He's such a great kid. Love hanging out with him. Love playing hockey with him. I've done it before. It'll be fun.
Still, of course, ways that people who have not yet sort of joined on in the event can donate and participate, right, this weekend?
Yeah, we'll be here through Sunday. Similar to years past, we have a group of Sabres alumni and maybe a couple current Sabres, to be determined. That's always kind of a wild card, but a group of those folks usually come and support us, and younger and older, they'll be guys like Gare and Luce and Coletta, so mix of young and old. Always great to hang out with those guys. They're a lot of fun.
Sunday?
Sunday, yeah. Sunday afternoon, the final shift. Sunday afternoon, 3 to 6. And anybody can come down anytime. Buy a T-shirt, buy a hat, throw $20 in the till. Whatever it is, support a player, support a team. It's a fun atmosphere. People hanging out down the canal side, they just pop in just to kind of check it out. It's fun. It's fun when they don't know what it's about, and they look around. They're like, oh, this is pretty cool. So it's anytime. Pop in anytime between now and Sunday and spend a couple of bucks.
And how much have you got in the hopper for Sunday specifically? It's like, because I know the opening ceremonies a week ago were pretty extensive. Is closing the final game, like, is there stuff that goes along with that?
Yeah, we keep it pretty simple. We wrap it up. We play the games the top fundraisers play against and with the alumni. Once that's over with, we'll have our beneficiaries here, the folks from Roswell, Make-A-Wish, Camp Good Days, Oshai. They'll be here, and we do the inevitable giant check.
Love a giant check
presentation. Saber, not Saber, too. Our PD Power Play will be here. But we wrap it up pretty quickly. Say a few words, say thank you, and start planning for next year.
All right, big weekend for this. I mean, Ride for Roswell is Saturday.
Yeah,
as well. So
yep.
We've got that going on in concert with this.
Yeah, it's pretty cool because some people will do the ride and do our event. I've got a couple people from my company, Rue, coming into town. They're doing the bike ride Saturday morning, and then they're coming here to support us. So that'll be fun. And shout out to Jeremy and my another friend of ours, Tony Zitnick, doing the 100 holes of golf.
Nate Geary too.
Yeah, Nate. Yeah, so shout out to those guys. I know they're probably on hole, I don't know,
80.
They're probably close to.
Yeah.
I saw Nate tweeting they were like 70 in before we started.
Yeah,
so
that's a cool event. That's a really cool event.
Yeah. So, all right, good deal. Yeah, that's out at Wanaka Country Club.
Yep.
And people can go watch that too, although it's almost over. So, anyway.
You actually can?
Yeah. Jeremy told me that last night. That
there's a gallery.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Very good, Mike. Well, congratulations again. Thanks for everything you've done for the community and with this event. We look forward to these opportunities to see you and watch, be a part of it every year. So,
all right, make sure you heckle me if I'm out there if you're still here.
Go easy on what the so-called Media All-Stars. Ironic that Bulldog would know of a thing called the Media All-Stars.
I have a jersey still.
He does.
I at one time was a Media All-Star.
Those were the days,
it's a very low bar.
Those were the days.
For inclusion as an all-star.
He's got a great memory, Mike.
Are you in the media? Do you think you can play hockey? You're an all-star.
He's got a great memory. All right. Thanks again, Mike.
Thanks, fellas.
More from Harbor Center next. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR. Blue remains in front, 1,095 to 1,042. A slight edge, 57 goals in this particular shift. They're up 18-16. Blue over white, one of the great rivalries. Not quite blue versus red, but almost as good. Last night I watched blue versus white before my draft, because when the draft comes, you got to just block out the distractions.
Sure, you got to be focused.
You got to be focused.
Yeah, you wouldn't want Kevin Adams or Brandon Beane watching a baseball game while the NFL or NHL draft is going on.
You know, in that one of those examples, maybe I would, but yes, right. No, just pay attention.
Right.
But lucky for me, right there on my recommended videos, Game 1, the 1983 Sabres-Canadiens series. The CBC broadcast from the Forum.
1983, I don't even remember what that looked like.
You will in one word. Sauvé.
Yeah, right. That was what came. As soon as I finished that sentence, I thought, it's Bob Sauvé, right? Back-to-back shutouts?
Yes.
Right.
Back-to-back shutouts at the Forum. I'm watching this all the way through. I'm going to watch this whole series. I didn't get through Game 1 because of that draft, the Big Gorilla. You can't mess around with that. But I did watch most of the first period of this game. Mm-hmm. It's a year where this happens sometimes, right? Like you've got old and young. Perro's on the team. Height is on the team. Lindy and Housley are on the team. Like,
right.
I mean, Housley younger. They were talking about, I believe, 6 rookies. Bowman had 6 rookies on that team. And was right there with Montreal, ended up just behind them in the standings. You played in your own division, so that was 2-3. Montreal and Buffalo, I believe. And they were, like, obsessed with Bowman on CBC. Don Cherry's in the booth with Gallivan.
Really?
And
I didn't know he ever did that. I
know, right?
I don't remember him ever doing that. I believe you, but I just don't remember it.
He was color. And talking about how the last time he had been there, or maybe for a playoff game, was the 79 series, the too many men on the ice penalty, and they lose.
Right.
But, yeah, they were obsessed with Bowman. Like, it almost felt like it was picture-in-picture with a camera on the Sabres coach, Scotty Bowman, at the return to the Forum.
How long had he been in Buffalo since he had left Montreal?
4 years.
4 years.
80, I think he came,
okay.
right? 80?
So I thought that, but okay. Yep.
This is 83. And so, like, he wasn't, right. He wasn't brand new to the Sabres, but still, like, in a playoff series. Sauvé and Rick Wamsley. And Montreal was also, like, old, and they were in transition. They were on their way down.
Mm-hmm.
Lafleur is on the team, right? They still had a lot of those guys, but, like, Robinson, but also, like, not all of them. And they were basically transitioning toward, well, no, they stayed upright, Montreal. I mean,
pretty much.
They beat us a number of times in the late 80s, won a cup, 93, the last Canadian Cup. Highly recommend. It has everything for me. You have the players. It's great to see the uniform. It's great to see some of those Sabres, playing, old and young. Then you've got Montreal and the same thing, the legends and the history, the Forum, the building, the whiteboards, the organ, the classic. You can hear it.
Yeah.
The guy playing the organ at the Forum.
Yeah.
He Let's Get Physical was played in the first period of this game.
By the organist.
By the organist.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's no, like, piped-in music like here.
Yeah.
It's ancient times.
Right.
A Playfair fight in the first period.
Of a playoff game.
Yes.
Different era. Yes.
He takes out Rajon Uhl at the boards. And who steps in? Chris Nyland.
Oh, boy.
Let's go.
Yep.
And then they punched each other for a few minutes.
That's a classic right
and
there.
Sat down.
Those are 2 all-time tough dudes.
Oh.
Really?
I believe I heard they said they were top 2 in the league in penalty minutes that season.
I believe that. Yeah.
Facing off, as it were, at the Forum in the playoffs. So good. I want to watch, because I probably have never seen this game on CBC.
Right.
Whatever I watched in 1983 would have been like on Channel 2 or something.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, with like Ed Kilgore.
Yeah, Darling.
Yeah.
Pat Hannigan.
Yeah, that's it. Right.
But we would not have had, I don't know for sure, but the CBC broadcast I don't know, depending on the Leafs or whatever. Maybe, but I didn't watch
it. I didn't either. Well, that's awesome. So I don't want to spoil the ending. So they Solvay back-to-back shutout. They win the series, and then that's the last time they win a first-round series until they sweep the Bruins
until
10
Mayday.
years later.
That's right.
Right? Okay.
Enjoy it now.
Right. Right.
I would highly recommend that broadcast, and I'm sure Game 2 is probably there too. I don't know, but you don't have to worry about giving up a single goal.
Right.
And then Game 3 in the odd, where I remember Mike Ramsey, I think, scoring an empty net goal to clinch that game in the odd. So that was fun season, fun playoff. The Boston series, sadly, ended badly, but great series.
Sure. Yeah.
The second round.
Yeah.
Joe Yerdon joins us next. We'll talk about the Peterka trade and the Sabres with the draft tomorrow night. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
The Buffalo Sabres made it official in the early hours this morning, but they have officially traded forward J.J. Peterka to Utah for defenseman Michael Kesselring and forward Josh Doan. Kesselring, 25, played 82 games last year. He put up 29 points, while Doan played 51 games. He's 23 years old and put up 19 points. Also for Utah, they signed Peterka to a long-term deal, 5 years with $7.7 million per year. We've also heard multiple reports, the NHL and the NHL Players Association negotiating a potential increase in the regular season, going from 82 games to 84, among other topics, of course, in the current CBA talks. In the NFL, Cincinnati, they are keeping the Bengals downtown at least until 2036. The Bengals and Hamilton County, they have agreed to a new deal to modernize Payco Stadium. And former Ravens kicker Justin Tucker, he has been suspended the first 10 games of the 2025 season for violating the league's personal conduct policy. This does come after the investigation by the league into allegations regarding sexual misconduct. And the Bisons, they will host the Iron Pigs tonight at 6:30. That game can be heard on our sister station, The Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet is celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
I don't think Michael's ever done drugs.
It's Mike Schopp.
I don't know if anyone's ever offered him any.
Let's go over some of these symptoms of marijuana use, shall we? You tell me who this sounds like.
It's the Bulldog.
Slow moving, inattentive, dull, constantly snacking, shows a lack of motivation.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog on WGR Sports Radio 550.
Don't feel bad about answering honestly here, but how much Utah Hockey Club did you watch last year?
Honestly, the game. No, I barely watched that game. No, I watched it. I was in a orthopedic, Excelsior Orthopedics, one of the sponsors of this waiting room.
The game here?
The Utah game here. It was on TV. I watched that.
Like a Saturday afternoon?
Yeah, on a Saturday afternoon while my dad was getting his dislocated wrist reset.
Ooh.
Yeah. But I did, so I did see it. And
not a lot else?
No, didn't they play? I feel like we were together. No, that was a Seattle game. I watched the game out there, too, when the Sabres played them. But that's it, the two times the Sabres played them.
How did we do?
I
don't know.
I don't remember. Oh, I know they got beat pretty badly here.
Yes.
Because that was the day after the Palm Trees news conference. Utah 4-1, 5-1, something
6-1.
Like 6-1, I don't
maybe.
know. It was bad.
Utah Hockey Club color vibes here today at the 11-day power play.
That's right.
This is their get-up.
In honor of this trade. They knew.
They must have known, yes. Joe Yerdon is with us on the Wester Hotline from Bleacher Report. Hi, Joe.
Hi, guys. How are we doing today?
We are doing well. We did get filled in on the first of the two acquisitions speaking earlier with the Sabres. I imagine you got to listen to the second one. We haven't heard any updates on that. Anything curious from Josh Doan this afternoon, Joe?
Well, it was. I've had a lot of moments through my career, which is very weird to say in the first place, but I've had a lot of moments in my career where you talk to like the sons of players that you watched. This might be the first time where we're in an interview with the son of a player that like I've written stories about and covered and talked to numerous times. And the first thing, he gets asked about his father, Shane Doan, longtime Coyotes, face of the Coyotes, guy. Right. And he goes, yeah, my dad's a big nerd about hockey. He's up on all the stats. And, I'm next in line to ask a question. And I had like that deja vu moment of, I remember having this exact conversation with Shane here in Buffalo a few years ago, where Shane was saying the exact same things about Josh. and about what a nerd he is, big on fantasy hockey, all this stuff. I'm like,
right.
And I'm just sitting there and like, if people had like the whole panel of everybody that's on this Zoom call there, they would have seen me just like laughing to myself and also dying inside at hearing this because holy cow, man. Like it's stunning, but, great guy. Michael Kesselring couldn't have said enough nice things about him. Great for the room, the whole thing. So, there's reasons to feel upbeat after hearing from these guys. If you're a fan, I mean, I'm not a fan. I'm in this for the stories, but like, you listen to these guys talk and they're excited. Like they want to, the line's gotten tired, but they want to be here. They want to be part of the solution, the whole thing. So like, it's encouraging. It's good. And I think they're both good players. It's just, it's the trade. I think there just needed to be more.
Right. Yeah, they gave up the best player in the deal. Buffalo did. Joe, how much do you know about what unraveled for Peterka here? Like, why did we end up in a place where, at least the way I'm perceiving it, is that it's being widely said he didn't want to be here. Is there any chance that the Sabres thought we need to change our mix? He's an RFA. We got a decision to make about committing long term, and maybe there are things there definitely are things to not like about his game. Still, though, he is the best player in the trade. What do you know about what happened with Peterka?
Well, this is such a small place that you hear things all the time, and there's all kinds of stuff that you hear about. But the one thing that always stuck with me about JJ was that he was a big favorite of everybody in the organization. Top down, ownership down, like they loved him, and they loved the talent. It was a massive pride point for Kevin Adams, drafting him in the second round, and even at the time when they drafted him, it was like, hey, these guys, this is a great pick. I think they got a guy, and and it was one of those picks that when it was made, everybody's like, hey, I think they got a winner here. Like this is really good for Buffalo, and it was. It's a great pick, and it's a moment where everybody, scouting, Kevin Adams, everybody can be like, yeah, we nailed it. We got the right guy. We made the right pick. We got this down. And those are guys you don't want to let go of. Those are guys obviously it's a pride point. So you're just like, hey, it's the guy we scouted, we found, we drafted him. Let's keep him. And something changed. Whether it's the lack of success, whether it's it's playing, how dealing with how hard Lindy can be on guys and. Or being asked to defend a little bit better, all these kinds of things where it kind of takes away the fun of playing hockey, which I guess that's a maturity thing at that point. But when those things kind of pile up, and a guy reaches this point of his career where it's hey, it's time to sign a long-term deal, that RFAs are starting to understand that they've got a little bit more leverage than in the past guys used to think they have. And this was a point for JJ to kind of draw a line and say, hey, listen, this ain't working here for me. Like this might be time to go. And I don't think Buffalo wanted to let him go. I don't think that's a guy they had any designs on trading. But when push comes to shove, if a guy's just, the magic words are I don't want to be here anymore, then so be it. But it's not a trade that Buffalo makes lightly, and I know the return doesn't get anybody overly excited. I mean, listen, Kesselring's going to be really good. He's going to be a very good player for them. He's going to help outpower the whole thing. But when you're thinking, and the thing breaks late last night, and you start thinking like, oh, maybe they're getting the number 4 pick. Maybe there's something else going on here. Maybe your imagination starts to run wild, and then it's a couple of guys for a guy, and you're like, wait a minute. This is not what we were expecting. So I don't know if it's a case where everybody gets a little bit too excited about what's happening, and then the reality of everything kind of lets it down. But like when you write it all down on paper, it just does not look. The look does not look good for Buffalo, right. Even though it might work in the end. It's kind of like the Savoy-McLeod deal last year, where Adams got crushed for it, and. Yeah, I think a lot of us knew it made sense, but the wider picture was just like, boy, that's an ugly one. That'll look bad in years, but so far so good.
with Joe Yerdon, I mean, it's Utah. Maybe if Bulldog only watched 2 games of theirs, a lot of us didn't see any. And so they're not going to be household names. But that also means that, like, it's not a team where you're winning a lot. It's not Edmonton, for example, where trading these players to the Sabres might be really tough on the players. I can believe it. This could always be true, but I could believe it if these guys on Utah can find some, positives in coming here.
Yeah, and for Michael Kesselring, he made it very clear he's an East Coast guy, and he's played out west his whole career. He used to be in the Oilers system, played in Bakersfield, California, in the AHL. Then he ends up in Arizona. He's playing in Tucson. He's playing in Tempe, and then you're in Salt Lake City, and it's a long way from home. That's not getting to see the family a lot, and he's not making a ton of money, so it's spending a lot of money to get the folks out there and get them tickets and whatever. But it's exciting for them because now it's like, oh, hey, cool, family can come and watch way more often. We're going to go to Boston like twice a year because he grew, he's a Boston area guy. He played at Northeastern with Devin Levi, so it's exciting for him and for Josh Doan. I mean, he's a Western guy, played at Arizona State, grew up around the Coyotes locker room his whole life, and gets drafted by them. The whole, the very honestly cool sweetheart story. But the old man's been working for the Leafs now for the last couple of years, and we know how close Toronto is, so that's kind of a nice thing. But but it's a situation that offers him a huge opportunity as well, and that's. It comes down to playing time and opportunity and stuff like that. So that's what gets guys excited. I think leaving Utah now is maybe a little tough because Utah was cooking last year. They've got something good going there, and them trading for Peterka makes a ton of sense. I totally get it. And obviously the view on Buffalo right now is really down. So it would be easy to be really, upset. I don't know. Disappointed, whatever. But for these guys, like this is a chance to show out, and this is a chance to play big minutes. And listen, this is stuff we used to say about the Bills in the past. But if you can get the Sabres to the playoffs after all this, you're a legend. Never mind winning a cup right now; it's just get to the playoffs.
Right.
The one thing that Marc-Andre Grignani got wrong was the timing. They'd been to the playoffs. If he'd come along 15 years later, he could have been a hero.
Joe, I certainly, like anyone, can understand being underwhelmed on paper with what the return looks like. And faith is in short supply. The benefit of the doubt barely exists, if it exists at all, when it comes to this management team with the Sabres. But if there is another move coming to replace some or all or even add to what Peterka was offering you offensively, I like the roles that are set here for these players. They've been looking for a partner for Power since he got here. It's patently absurd, in my opinion, that it's taken 3 seasons, but here we are. That I'm optimistic about that. And I think Doan is the kind of player that the league is sort of trending toward, a bigger 200-foot player and, forecheck and all that. The Sabres are not long in that type of guy, and I don't know where his upside ends up. I know he's got an above-average shot, which is helpful. So I like where they slot in, provided, they spend the money they're saving on not paying Peterka, which, again, is saying a lot. So you got to really twist yourself up a bit, but I assume there's a Byram trade coming, and that in some way, shape, or form, he contributes to them finding their way to the top 6 forward that they've needed for, they definitely needed another one last year, and they never got it. But I think provided there's another move, I like this trade as it stands sitting here today, as long as they supplement.
Yeah, I had to write the winners and losers piece very early this morning for Bleacher Report on the trade, and it's almost like you want to give an incomplete grade for the Sabres because you're like, well, this is one trade. There's at least one more coming, assuming. I think we've been assuming since, pretty much since the season ended, maybe even before the trade deadline, that Bo Byram probably going somewhere else, just because the fit's not quite right, and the money is going to be an issue because do you pay 3 defensemen a ton of money? Like it's
right.
the whole thing, but the pressure's on now. You can't not trade Bo, even though keeping him's fine, I guess. But you can't if you're thinking you're trading him, you got to cash in. You have to get that top 6 forward. There is no escape from that now. It has to be done. And now there's kind of an artificial bar set because Michael Russo at The Athletic wrote that the Wild offered Marco Rossi for Peterka, and the Sabres were very adamant about getting a right-hand shot defenseman, which you can get mad about it, but they needed it. It's just maybe that's not the guy you had in mind, but getting laser focused on that, maybe I don't know, whatever. If it turns out that Byram lands him a guy that nobody has even at the front of their mind for a trade, that turns out to be okay, I get it now kind of deal. Great, that's perfect. And then the I'm sorry's can come out and be written, and I'll be the first guy up front to be like, hey, my bad. Nope, that's a win. But you have to win. But you got to
do it. Right.
You can't be a guy who where you're like, I don't know, second, third liner, maybe, I don't know, like a tweener. It can't be that. Or unless it's a guy that's got the super high upside who just got buried on a really good team, then all right, fine. But we're putting too many qualifiers out there as it is when there's already 1,000 of them in place in case they don't add a top 6 forward.
On that Marco Rossi point, Michael Russo is a known name. He's been around a long time. Mm-hmm. But if he's reporting a specific offer involving the name of a player, that guy's getting moved.
Oh yeah,
they're not leaking. They're not answering his call with this is the player we offered Buffalo, unless he's not coming back.
Now here's an 8-year contract.
Right? Yeah, no, right.
That probably doesn't work.
He's not coming back.
Right.
So maybe he'll be moved somewhere, I would think. And I don't know. Do the Sabres have to be not in the conversation when it comes to him because of whatever Byram would represent to Minnesota? I haven't thought that through, but I feel like he'll probably get traded.
I think if it was maybe, obviously the timelines don't work out, but if this was before they drafted Zeev Buium and found their soon-to-be number 1 puck-moving defenseman, and considering they've already got Brock Faber on the right side, then maybe you could say, hey, Bo Byram, hey, I bought it. You guys want to get rid of Rossi? You're not happy with him. We'll take him. But I think the role that Bo is looking for probably isn't there for him in Minnesota. And I think Rossi would drive some of the fan base crazy because he's not a huge guy. He's strong. He's strong as an ox, but he's not big. But, boy, he can score. He can skate, the whole thing. It's why myself included, we're like, boy, they got to run to the podium and draft this guy when they drafted Quinn. And I was like, oh, whoops. Okay, well, all right, that's fine. That's a good pick still, but,
yeah.
Rossi was the other guy in that team that was like, man, he's incredible. And they drafted the other guy from that junior team. But that's not to say that Buffalo can't be in that discussion, but I think that trade would be a lot different, and I don't know, maybe the fit isn't right.
I feel without just because he's small, painting with too broad a brush. But I said earlier, I feel like Rossi is repetitive of what they already have in their system. I mean, he's an NHL player already with 60 points last year, I recognize. But if you want to make your team over to be bigger and harder to play against, I don't really think Marco Rossi in your top 6 is getting that done. And I also think he might be a little bit, I don't know, he wants to go somewhere reportedly where he can be a number 1 center. And I don't know if that's, I mean, he might be a really nice number 2, but I don't know about number 1 center for him myself. So I didn't mind that they passed on that. But again, it's with the caveat that the other move happens. Because if it doesn't, then it's going to look really bad that they didn't jump at a guy like him, I think.
Yeah, and, the number 1 center thing is so interesting because of, Tage had so much success in the wing last year, and you're like, oh, well, is he going to stay there? And sure seems like that's going to be the case. And, Kulik up the middle, you're like, okay, well, he's really good. Is he a number one center? I think because a lot of us were assuming that he was going to be a winger, given his shot and, the way that he played the game. But, now he's seems to be pretty set in as a center, and that's what he's going to be, which, that's fine. He didn't seem like a fish out of water at all last season. So, that's great. But
don't forget Josh Norris, Joe.
Yeah, all apologies to Josh Norris. I keep forgetting they've got him, but the caveat there, if he's healthy, he's a really great player, and he's got to stay healthy. He's got to, stop walking under ladders or stop crossing, having black cats cross his path, and just find some good luck there. But yeah, it's. I remember asking Adams at the end of the season if, how he felt about the center position. Does he feel like that's if that's an area that's got to address? And he ran down the list of the guys, Kulik, Norris, the whole litany of guys, McLeod, Krebs, everybody. He's like, I think we're pretty deep at center. He's like, I like our group. And I'm like, yeah, no, it's good, but do you have a number one? And, I think that's the fair question. Because once Tage moves off center and he's not playing center anymore, you don't have a number one anymore.
I feel like if a guy who's sort of mid says he wants to be a number one center, he wants to go to a bad team. It's probably what he's looking at. He's probably not looking at Edmonton or Toronto, for instance.
Maybe you would have loved it here, Rossi.
Maybe he would have been perfect. Maybe it'll still happen.
Yeah.
Joe Yerdon, Bleacher Report. Joe, thanks for the time.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. 803-0550 on the Peterka trade if you want to get in. We're at Harbor Center for the 11-day power play. Blue by 2. With a smidge under 25 minutes to go in this shift. 22-20. Been some good talent on display. There is in almost every shift.
Yes.
Or maybe it is not even almost. This goalie, I love him. I almost said it. This number 11. They're all number 11. But there's one guy in white with like Amerks color pants.
Yeah.
Red and blue that are, he's catching my eye, Bulldog. I'm going to have to start writing stuff down. Although scouting this would be tough. You'd have to go by helmets.
Yes, and very few of the guys have distinctive enough helmets, aside from the founder of the operation here, Mike Lesowski, who we talked about last time we visited. I think the old school Jofa helmet that he still wears.
Looking forward to that at 6. Sneaky Joe, all your favorites.
Yeah,
Owen.
I'm distracted watching my dopey kid stretch over here at the end of the.
We can change seats because I can't see it, if that helps you. Lines open. We'll be back after the update. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
JJ Peterka is on his way to Utah. The Buffalo Sabres made that official earlier this morning, and the Sabres do acquire in this trade defenseman Michael Kesselring and forward Josh Doan. Kesselring, 25, played 82 games last year. He put up 29 points. Doan, 23, played 51 games and put up 19 points. And also for Utah, Peterka, he is signing a long-term deal with them, 5 years, worth $7.7 million per year. The Bengals are staying in downtown Cincinnati at least until 2036, as the Bengals and Hamilton County have agreed to a new deal to modernize Paycor Stadium. Former Ravens kicker Justin Tucker has been suspended the first 10 games of this upcoming NFL season for violating the league's personal conduct policy. This does come after an investigation by the league into the allegations regarding sexual misconduct. And the Bisons, they are going to host the Iron Pigs tonight at 6:30. That game can be heard on our sister station, The Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet, celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
When that deal was finally announced, confirmed last night, smiles on the faces of general managers with interest in Bo Byram, because all along, Bo Byram was the more likely of those two guys to get traded. But the response from Adams was, if I'm trading Bo Byram, I need a right shot defenseman coming back the other way as part of the package. Well, he gets the right shot defenseman in Kesselring. So now all of these general managers who have interest in Byram but didn't want to have to give up one of their own right shot D are kind of trying to look at things creatively. Okay, well, maybe we're back in on this with Bo Byram. And so the list of teams that would have interest in Bo Byram, it's pretty extensive. It's 6, 7, 8 teams deep, legitimate players for Bo Byram at this stage.
3D chess.
You better nail it.
3D chess.
You're going to have to nail it.
You don't have a right shot defenseman? I'll go get another one over here. And so I can do something different with you. Darren Dreger on Sabres Live today. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog at Harbor Center. I almost literally did wear shorts here. I mean, it's summer.
Good call not doing that.
It was.
Yeah. All right, I'm out of shape. I'm out of shape on this. I've not, the kid stopped playing 4 years ago now. I've not been putting in the time. And so, I know from previous years being here for this event, which, of course, we are always happy to do and honored to be a part of the little small part of it, doing our show here. Even though I'm wearing pants and have a long sleeve quarter zip on, I'm feeling the chill.
Yes, my wife was here to volunteer earlier in the week, and she got home, and it was, one of those days where it was like 88 degrees.
Yeah.
And she got home and made the point about how cold it was in here and how good thing I wore 4 shirts, 2 jackets, and 3 blankets. And I'm like, but that's what you always wear. I mean, that doesn't tell me that much about how I should dress for Thursday.
Right.
But I guessed right, I guess. Here at Harbor Center, Rink 1, the 11-day power play. The WGR team will be on the ice at 6. We're excited to see those guys, including Sneaky Joe and Bulldog son Owen in net. A lot of names, our boss Alan will be out there and some others we look forward to seeing. Many of you are going to be familiar with this rink and this scene here. The big Sabres logo at center ice. Where's he going with this? The Red Wings are asking their fans to pick between 2 designs for center ice for this year.
Okay.
It's kind of cool what I've seen so far. It's the 100th year of the original 6 teams.
Yep.
And the Wings it's online, one or the other. One is just, winged wheel, red and white. The other one has Hockey Town written across the middle. One thing I liked, of course I'm going to, you like what you started with as a sports fan. 1983, I mentioned that, watching a little bit of that Sabres-Canadian series last night. What do the Canadian center ice look like?
Tiny little logos on either side. Like the big circle, obviously with the dot in the middle, but very small Montreal Canadiens logos. The logo they wear on the sweater.
Right.
And the logos on the ice are, I'm going to comically say, barely bigger than the logo on the crest of the jersey.
Yeah, no, I mean, but it was cool.
Yeah.
I mean, they had two. Yep. The Sabres did that for a while,
Sabres
too.
had that. Boston had that. A lot of teams. At least I'm pretty sure I remember that in Boston. I think the big singular logo, I'm not going to say a pretty recent development, but it definitely changed during our lifetimes watching hockey.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they maybe just didn't have the capability to make a piece of artwork that big that they could put on the ice. I don't know, why it changed, but,
Well, always within all that growth or just how it evolved is how it became a TV show, right? I mean, that's when the Canadians put those logos and the Sabres and the Bruins and those teams did that in the 70s, say, they were never probably thinking at all about cameras.
Marketing, really, barely. I mean, it was,
And then, maybe it was decided, somebody in marketing decided it was better to have it just, why not make the whole ice out of the Sabres logo, really?
Right.
Why not just, there's probably rule against that, or else you would do it.
Can you remember how small the Bills logo was at Rich Stadium when they first, I think it was
a helmet.
Compared to now, tiny.
It was, they had, at least for a while, some of those years, they had the helmet at midfield, like the white helmet where the logo wasn't big on the helmet. And, that evolved too.
Right.
Well, get in there and vote.
We live in a logo world now, Yeah, I mean, I saw the 100th anniversary, like you're saying, right? The Bruins. And, I mean, I know I can look at that logo and see the subtle differences. And I don't know, maybe someone who's in graphic design would tell you they're not that subtle. But, like, here's our new look.
It looks almost the same.
What are we talking about? I see the tips of the B on the outside, like the left side of the B, now line up with the spoke. Thanks. That's it? I looked at it 10 times going, I needed to see them side by side to go, I see the little subtle difference there.
Doesn't seem like you should be able to get away with, here's our new uniform.
Right.
There's going to be some tiny change.
Redesign.
Let that be a fan contest. Try to find it. First person who can find the difference in these two logos.
Right.
Make it like that bar game. Well, could be some cool stuff coming from all those original 6 teams this year. Peterka to Utah. Frank, the story is Utah. Peterka going to Utah for Michael Kesselring and Josh Doan. I just, like we started today, I'm choosing not to hate it. Because I guess this is always true. Did I say this about Kozlov when the Sabres got him for Dominik Hasek? Like, there are things you can point to be excited about. And, you've said a lot today, you need something else. This is always how we are with them. And sometimes the Bills, too. Like, you need a complementary move to replenish their offense here.
Right. I've got a wheelbarrow full of disclaimers. But I don't even have to choose to like the players that they got. I think the players they got back fit very specific roles that this team has needed. They did not get equal. I don't think there's any really arguing that they failed to get equal value for Peterka. That's almost universally how it's being talked about and written about, grading the trade, like Joe Yerdon talked about last segment and whatever. And I get all that. But the Sabres, Kevin Adams, have to try to put a team together that it's not an all-star, it's not a stats competition. They needed a partner for power, and Kesselring, I think, is a very credible and good idea to be that partner. A more physical player, not as much offensive upside as you have with a guy like Byram, say, but much more dependable defensively, physical enough, willing to fight if you need it. Like, we have a shortage of that kind of player on this roster all around. So that fits a very specific need, and I think Doan also fills a need in that they are just not overloaded with young, dependable two-way players, 200-foot forwards that are all, good size, reasonably dependable everywhere you put them, And he does have a trait that is above like replacement level. He's got a very good shot. Owen played against him in 2019 at USA Hockey's under-17 national camp.
All right.
And remembers the shot. He said he was one of the best guys there. It was ended up being the 37th pick in the draft. So, that speaks for itself, I think. The shot is very good. It's not, it's not Tage Thompson, Kulik elite level, but very good. So at least, there's a potential there with opportunity to maybe produce a little more than your average mucker, grinder, forechecker type player. But even if that doesn't produce 15 to 20 goals, I think that role is an important role to have on your team. In a young player, a cost-controlled player, not going out. Jeremy was talking last week, I think, on their show, and he tweeted how what the Sabres had to spend to get Malenstein and Lafferty and Aube-Kubel and whoever. No, it was Krebs because Aube-Kubel eventually wasn't there. But they're spending like $9 million on their fourth line. Florida's fourth line was all like $875.
Right.
All that, minimum salary guys. And very productive and good. Like, you add together what the Sabres aren't spending to the cap with what they are spending to have what a lot of good teams treat as, like, bargain-type roster spots, and it's tough. So hopefully Doan can, at least for the time being, be someone who, at a cheaper price, gives you good minutes down there. So I like the pieces, but again, the big caveat is you gotta do something else with Byram, presumably, to replace what you gave up in Peterka.
I am ready to hear about it. I'm ready for the breaking news alerts here on Match Trade. Back to Harbor Center after this break. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR. responded to me about the 83 Sabres Canadiens playoff watch. One guy just wrote about how the commercials are even better because they're like for beer and dandruff shampoo. And they're not like, as I often will say, these I don't want to put anybody down. Like, somebody needs that medicine.
Right.
But these drug ads with the production quality of a Marvel movie, like, how much money? And they're on constantly. Right. How much money? You know, the first ad, one of the first ads at least, in that game last night, I think it was for, like, being active. You know how, like, maybe more often in Canada there would be commercials for just, like, working out?
Like PSAs kind of thing, right? Like, take care of yourself.
A woman in this particular ad, very provocative. You would never see this anymore.
Oh, dear.
You would never, I mean, just the sexual,
innuendo is what you want?
Suggestiveness is not subtle. In the first, here's another advertisement for Game 1 of the 1983 Adams Division semifinals
on the CBC.
On the CBC broadcast on YouTube. There are only a few seconds left in this current shift here at the 11-day power play. The GR guys are next. Hat on a hat. One guy on this white team was dangling all day.
Yeah.
And you got to figure out here, from experience, can you be a little bit physical in this event?
No.
You have to let them do it.
No, you should not be. I, being wired in the damaged way that I am wired, when we played in the community shift back in 2018, I guess it was, a couple of our guys, Ryan Gates and Sneaky Joe, I don't think were in full gear. Ryan definitely wasn't, but I seem to remember Joe also did not have all the gear on. And somebody on the team we were playing was messing with Gates. And at that
That's
time,
fun to do.
He was our producer, and I, again, I'm damaged. I felt the need to, like, step in. It didn't get – I don't think if you were watching, you had to have been really watching me and this other guy intently to notice that there was a thing. But there were 4 or 5 whacks at the shin pads each. And then, we just decided we're playing in a charity hockey game. Let's calm down. But I basically wanted him to leave Gates alone. He didn't have elbow pads on or something. Whatever. He was vulnerable. I felt like, so like, get not being so hard on my dude.
Yeah. Well, too bad we don't have Ryan anymore.
No.
He's not on this thing tonight. Is he media all-stars either, though? He's not. What is Ryan?
I don't know. I don't think
he's
so.
He's media adjacent.
When he came up, we mentioned him last week at one point, and he texted me right away.
Yeah.
Because I even said, like, I hope he's doing okay out there. He's like, I'm doing great. So I don't think he's involved in this, though. I think he would have told us that. I didn't see his name on a roster.
No, I didn't either. But Owen, Joe, Alan, Derek, Brayton, Tim Wenger's son.
Yep.
Brendan?
Yep.
Who am I forgetting?
Nice little player. Hang on. I think I've got a list here. I should pull that
Josh, up. Travis, TJ.
All right. Travis. All right. I didn't know he was a hockey player. Good.
Well, I don't know if he is, but he's playing.
Well, okay.
I don't think you have to be a hockey player.
He's going to give it a go. By the time I played in this thing, I certainly was not any longer a hockey player.
Yeah, very cool. Tomorrow, Sam, I mean, he's not going to have, I think he knows a lot, but NHL draft takes.
He did text me. There's a lineup from the Sabres from early in the 21 season sort of making the rounds. Right. Eichel, Reinhart, Thompson, the team. Skinner. He sent me a screen grab of it and asked, like, is this accurate? Like, did this team existed? And I'm like, yeah, Eichel only played 21 games and his neck he had a neck injury, and Thompson was not Thompson yet, but yeah, that was their team.
What was his point? Like that? These guys really played together in Buffalo and still lost,
and were lousy. Yeah, right. Something like that. Yeah. So
who's in goal?
He's aware.
When are we? How far back are we going here? Ullmark?
I don't remember now.
Put him on that list. He only won a Vezina Trophy.
Yeah, Ullmark and UPL are the goalies listed here.
Yeah, I mean that's
Dahlin and
to his point.
Dahlin, Montour, Power, McCabe, Ristolainen and Samuelsson.
Oh,
are the
now we
60
know.
listed.
Now we know.
Skinner, Eichel, Reinhart, Cousins, Thompson, Peterka, Taylor Hall, by the way, Middlestat, Jack Quinn, Olofsson, Gergensen, Zoposo. God, that's early for Quinn, isn't it? And that's so quick. But that's part of the problem.
I guess.
Probably, right? So
we will be hanging out here for a little bit. But for you, I'll chat with Greg Wyshynski coming up from ESPN on Peterka and that move. The Sabres' chances this year, the finals, 84 games. There were 84 games in a season before in the NHL, 93, 94. A couple of years they played 84. Sounds like maybe we're headed there. Greg will be telling you here coming up. From Harbor Center, Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.